What is a screencast? Well, you're watching one right now. This is a screencast, and it's the ability for me to draw on my iPad, record my voice, and all the actions at once. Essentially, it's a smartboard in the palm of my hands. It's like making a video that you'd see on Khan Academy. Screencasting is great because it engages our students cognitively, it engages them metacognitively, and it also engages them, well, you guessed it, non-cognitively. When I say students will be engaged cognitively, I'm referring to the mental processes of sustained attention, using their memory, problem solving, decision making, and much more. Screencasting is an excellent multi-sensory approach for our students to demonstrate and illustrate their knowledge. As a student creates their screencast, it forces them to rationalize and communicate what they've learned, which essentially is thinking about thinking, or developing metacognitive ability, which is being aware of one's own thought process. The goal is to help our students better understand what they've learned and how they learn, which develops the ability to be a growing learner. The last advantage is non-cognitive ability, which is when we see our students use technical skills not directly related to the curriculum. It's the hidden curriculum, per se, the learning of digital literacy, presentation skills, and so on. So how are students going to use this? That's probably the burning question, right? And there's a couple different options that come to mind for me. One of them is peer review of friends' writing, which would be the opportunity for a peer to give their work to another friend in the class, and instead of them writing notes on it, which they may feel uncomfortable with because they're not good writers, they can then read over the work and do a screencast, giving verbal information about what went wrong with their writing sample. They could be circling the problems. They could be making small notes with the text feature. There's a whole bunch of different opportunities. Another opportunity for them to use screencasting could be self-review of a teacher's rubric. Again, thinking about thinking. They're going to evaluate their own work and make comments on it based on the rubric that you've given them. Another opportunity could be the explanation of a skill or task. Maybe you want the students to make small videos explaining a math process and really proving that they understand how it's done. And it's going to really it's going to really sink that thought in when they have to show the steps and they have to show the problem-solving ability. Another option might be explanation of a thought with a visual cue. Thought, not tough. Thought. So again, for students who struggle to explain things, we can give them visual aids, and instead of them speaking in front of class and being uncomfortable, now they can make a screencast, which still works on their public speaking skills, but it's not as intimidating. And they get that chance to review it and correct their mistakes, like I've been doing. The last idea that really comes to mind is a unit review presentation. Or basically, when you'd have your students speaking in front of the class, now they can speak to their iPad. So you're probably asking yourself, how do I make a screencast? Well, it's not too hard. It all starts, like anything else, with a good idea. So I created the idea of making a screencast of a screencast. Once that was done, I needed to figure out what that was going to look like. So I made a storyboard. Now, mine was done on my iPad using a program called Paper 53. I wouldn't recommend this for everyone. You need to be comfortable with the program. And I think it's really important to remember that the iPad doesn't need to do everything for us. So maybe your storyboard's done with old-fashioned pen and paper, and that's totally okay. Once you have a plan, you need to gather resources, and we can use a whole variety of different resources. I've done mine completely digital because I'm challenging myself to be digital. One option, though, could be just old-fashioned paper. We could write it on paper, and we could use the camera in the iPad to capture the image. Another opportunity might be taking pictures. The iPads have cameras, so why not go out into the school or outside and take pictures of the idea? Obviously, there's this thing called the internet, a great resource. And the last one is just writing stuff down. You'll have to decide what you want to use as your resources for your slideshow. In mine so far, I've done handwritten stuff, typed stuff, I've taken pictures from the internet, and I've drawn pictures on my iPad. Once you have your ideas, I continue formulating my plan. I knew I wanted to do an introduction. I knew I wanted to give a rationale of why screencasting was good, how the students could use it, and then I started figuring out what this was going to be. So my task was, well, like I said, to create a screen capture. So I figured that out. Then I created this plan, which is what we're seeing right now. Then I went out and collected media. I wrote a script, which you'll see next, and then I recorded it again, which I'm doing actively now. So as I said, I wrote a script, and here it is. You can see just a portion of it that I wanted to share. Your students should also be writing scripts because it will help them give a more clear and concise presentation, and it will really challenge them to do that metacognitive thinking about thinking and putting their thoughts to paper or their thoughts to the iPad. And the last step is using a program called Explain Everything. And that's what I'm going to do next with you guys. I'm going to use this program called Explain Everything. It looks like this. And we're going to start making a screencast so that you are more familiar with it, so that you can do this with your students.